Why is the U.S. taxpayer supporting a group whose leader you have banned from coming to the States?
And this is about the attacks that occurred, I believe, yesterday on the Syrian civil defense station in El Atarab, Syria. The United States is appalled by Monday's multiple aerial strikes reportedly by the Assad regime on a Syrian civil defense station in the town of, as I noted, El Atarab in Aleppo province, where at least 5 members of the civil defense are believed to have been killed and many more innocent people were injured. This attack fits with the Assad regime's abhorrent pattern of striking first responders, over 100 of whom have been killed in action. Many are killed in so-called double-tap strikes, where warplanes return to a strike zone after first responders have gathered to assist victims, and the Syrian civil defense station in El Atareb was reportedly hit 5 times on Monday. We condemn in the strongest terms any such attacks, and we urge Russia to use its influence and press the Assad regime to fulfill its commitments under UNSCR 2254 and immediately stop any further attacks of this nature. We also commend the heroic members of the Syrian civil defense who've saved more than 40,000 people by serving as impartial emergency responders on the front lines, performing search and rescue missions following brutal attacks, often perpetrated by the Assad regime and its allies. And the United States will continue to support this group and their courageous and tireless efforts to protect the Syrian people. That's it. Matt.
On the last one,
Yes, sir.
you commend this group. You're going to continue to support them, and yet you revoked the visa of their leader. That makes 0 sense to me.
Well,
what's exactly going on?
Well, I mean, this group, and I would.
Yeah, but this is the guy who's the leader of this group, who the head of USAID lionized she lauded him in a speech at the event that he was supposed to be accepting an award that he couldn't get here for because the State Department canceled his visa while he was in midair, presumably over the Atlantic. So that when he arrived at Dulles, he was promptly thrown on the next plane back to Turkey, and now here you are talking about how wonderful his group is. I just don't understand how it works.
So a couple responses. One is, unfortunately, we can't speak to individual visa cases. I think broadly speaking, though, on any visa case, we are constantly looking at new information, so-called continually vetting travel or records. And if we do have new information that we believe an individual, let me finish, would pose a security risk, we'll certainly act on that. I can't speak, again, specifically to this case. But what I can talk about is this group. And this group, as I said, has saved some 40,000 lives. They're first responders. They operate in a combat zone. And the fact that they're being singled out and hit by the Syrian regime is frankly cause for concern. And we do support this group. We do support their efforts to save lives in what is admittedly a very complex and convoluted battlefield scene. And to speak to your broader, to say that this group's, which I think is the implication of your question, that they somehow have ties to.
No, I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm saying that it just strikes me as a bit odd that you're saying that this group is wonderful and does such a great job, and you're commending them for their heroism, and yet you're doing this just 10 days after the leader of this group, who was supposed to be, who got his visa revoked and wasn't allowed to travel here. I understand there was an attack that killed some of its members, and I know that that's the immediate cause of it, but it just strikes me as being a bit inconsistent if you say that this group is wonderful, and yet you also ban its leader from coming to the States to collect an award for which, and you say you're going to continue to support the group. I mean, if you have reason to revoke his visa, that he could be a security threat or something like that, why would you continue to support it?
But again, I'm trying to separate this individual from the group.
All right, so the guy you're saying that basically he is suspect, but his group is not?
Well, again, I can't speak to the specific allegations against him, Matt. No, I'm sorry. My hands are tied too.
Yeah, the other thing
but yes, we're not condemning the group in any way whatsoever. We believe it's doing good work.
But if he's the leader of the group, how do you support this group and he is not allowed to get into the States? This is the question.
I understand that, and all I can say is that.
How can you separate the leader of the group from the group?
Well, he's one individual in the group.
But the leader of the group.
And any individual, again, I'm broadening my language here for specific reasons, but any individual in any group suspected of ties or relations with extremist groups or that we had believed to be a security threat to the United States, we would act accordingly. But that does not, by extension, mean we condemn or would cut off ties to the group for which that individual works for.
It just seems a little odd.
Can I just follow up on the group? Which group is that? I mean,
Sophisticated.
they are civil defense groups, right?
The white helmets.
The White Helmets. So
White
this is a
Helmets.
group.
Okay,
So
I
yeah, this
understand.
is a
Do you
Syrian
know-
civil defense group.
I understand,
Yeah.
but the White Helmet. Do you know who finances them, how they operate, who are they supported by, what kind of organization they have? How do you get your information
Well,
from them and so on?
well, I can say
I mean,
we provide them with.
know a little bit.
Well, I can tell you that we
Yeah.
provide through USAID about
Right.
$23 million in assistance to them.
So-
I can say that they've saved over 40,000 lives, as I just mentioned at the topper, by acting as first responders. They go into combat zones, they save people after attacks. You know, we've seen no action on the part of this group writ large that indicates in any way that they're nothing but an impartial group that, like any humanitarian organization, works across lines of control and is in contact with a range of groups to facilitate their life-saving efforts. And that's, you know, again, we've talked about this the last couple of days. Aleppo is a very complex situation. We understand that. And for these groups to operate, you know, they have to be able to operate within the milieu on which they're working.
Mark, can you ask for some clarification? I mean, this just seems bizarre to me. You're giving this guy and his group $23 million. Yes, they do good work, they save lives, but you've revoked his visa for some reason. You won't say why, and it just doesn't make any sense. Why is the U.S. taxpayer supporting a group whose leader you have banned from coming to the States?
Well, I mean, look, I'm always, you know, willing to try to get more information.
Please.
In this case, I'm a
Just
bit
a-
restricted by the fact that this is.
Well,
you
I know, but it just,
I can't
for
talk
the
about
average
specific
person, I don't
visa.
think this makes any sense. Anyway, I wanted to ask you about something else.